Okay, here we are at kilometer 500. And I wanted to just discuss a little bit on my way to work today about the features on the dash here. I found out yesterday there's an extra trip set when your fuel light comes on. So my fuel light came on yesterday. I was at 181 kilometers. Fuel light comes on, and then it switches immediately over to a reserve trip set. So you've got your fuel reserve on, and it tells you you've gone 0 kilometers initially on your reserve tank, and then if you switch it off of that mode, it'll go back to that mode after about 5 seconds of being on whichever mode you happen to switch to. So it keeps going back to, you've been 5 kilometers on reserve, you've been 6 kilometers on reserve, so that you know how long you've driven after the reserve light has come on. So there's a feature that I didn't read in the book. I must have missed it. So I know that I'll get 180 kilometers on a tank, and I know I'll get about, well, more than 7 kilometers on my reserve anyway. That's as far as I wanted to push it. I went straight to a gas station. I suppose I should figure that out and see how much kilometers I can get on that reserve until I'm right dead, just so that I know. And my dad keeps telling me I need to do that, but yeah, for now, 7, probably more. So on my dash, your first mode is your clock. Now in every mode except for the odometer, you get your gear selector in the corner as well. So that's interesting. And then it tells you along the bottom what mode you're in. So clock mode is just my time of day. Temperature mode, 25 degrees today, nice day out. A little smoky from the fires in the mountains, but generally a good day to ride. Every day is a good day to ride. You can set what you're measuring in as well, whether it's Celsius or Fahrenheit or miles or kilometers. I prefer metric, so everything is in Celsius. Next mode is fuel, and this is an instantaneous fuel consumption, liters per 100 kilometers. Again, I think it's important if you wanted to drive more economically to get this instantaneous feedback. I don't think I'm going to be driving that economically. I'm just driving as much as I want to have fun and see how economical that is in the end, practically for me. But it's interesting to see sometimes exactly how much you get cruising along at a certain speed, and then you can kind of gauge, well, if I go 120, I get worse fuel economy than if I go 115, and plan your trip based on that to try and get a little bit better economy out of your road trip. The next one is the average fuel. Right now I'm at 6. That's because I just filled up with gas and reset everything, and so far on this tank of gas I'm averaging about, well, it just went up to 6.3 as I sit here to idle. So that's how much everything has an effect. Once I get on the highway, it'll start changing as well. Average kilometers per hour, Again, that reset as soon as I filled up and reset my trip set. Usually I get about 60 is my average kilometers per hour. By the time I factor in how much time I'm on the highway and how much time I'm in the city, I get about an average of 60 kilometers an hour. Time, so this is how much time you have on this trip set. So when you reset your trip, this time resets as well. So I've had 9 minutes driving time on this tank of gas so far. I think I had about 2 hours 45 minutes in about on the last tank. Gives you an idea of how long you have before you're empty, I guess. So if you think traveling at about 60 kilometers an hour, I got about 2.5 hours worth of gas. I don't know anybody that thinks that way. Most of the time when we plan a trip, we think about kilometers. But it's one more thing that you can set. Trip D is my daily trip set. So your trip D resets every time you turn on your key. So every morning this is at 0 when I hop on the bike. Every day after work it's back at 0. Now if I stop for just about 15 minutes or something, it doesn't tend to reset, but it will reset after probably a half an hour break or something like that. With the engines off for that long, then it will start to it will start to reset and then give you a new trip D. And then you go down to your actual trip set, which is what I reset every time I fill up with gas. So I've got 5.9 kilometers on this tank. It means I can probably go another 175k before I have to fill up. And then you hit your odometer, and again on the odometer setting, you don't get a gear selector on it. It's just the odometer, probably because they needed more space for more numbers ultimately. Your last setting tells you which traction control mode you're on. So right now I'm in traction control 1. We've also got your traction control 2, which is your rain mode, and then off, which is I guess a third mode, no traction control at all. I just kind of leave it in 1. I'm a pretty conservative driver anyway. I don't want to smoke up the tires and peel out every time I'm at a light, so I just leave it on 1. Unless it's rainy and slippery out, then I'll stick it on 2. So right now it's 20 after 10. It's 24 degrees out, and I have about 40 minutes to get to work. It's only really a 20-minute drive, so I can take my time. I can enjoy the ride. There is a few other advanced modes on this. You have to be not driving to be able to get into them. I'll maybe make a video about going through that when I'm parked at some point. But it basically sets your personal number, how to change when your warning lights come on, these kinds of things. Quite a bit more advanced, and I don't like to play with it when I'm driving anyway, so I'll maybe go over that a different time. So another thing with the instrumentation here, the lights come on automatically on the dash here. The headlight and the little dash light comes on automatically when it gets dark. We'll see that as soon as we get here into my underground parking. My lights should turn on. And then the only thing you have to control with headlights is whether it's a high beam or low beam. It's nice now. I'll see if I can show you some of the things here. So clock, temperature, average liters, or pardon me, instantaneous liters, average liters, average kilometers per hour, time on this reset, and trip D, my trip, my odometer, 533 kilometers.